Hey YouTube, I wanted to stop by today and talk a little bit about the Gospel of Mark and essentially the apocalyptic aspect of Mark. I got some very interesting questions. It's been about a week or so ago about the Gospel of Mark and modern scholars' take on this Gospel. Mark is, in my opinion, one of the most complex books in the New Testament outside of Revelation. And I can't think of another gospel that comes anywhere near the depth that this text goes into. At first it looks very, very crude. And someone had mentioned this a couple of weeks ago about the crudeness idea that it's written, with fewer words, a little bit less diversity of the verbiage than some of the other gospels. And with that in mind, people have put it very early and said, well, obviously this author just didn't know, didn't do as good a job as the other authors. However, my answer to that is, in my opinion, that this Mark looks like it is by design. It is crudeness by design. And again, like I said, Mark is one of the most complicated books in the New Testament. And I wanted to start off, I suppose, with, the crudeness idea. And you see this throughout the text, really, the immediacy, and it says in Mark, Mark 1, 12, 11 and 12, and a voice came out of heaven, "Thou art my beloved Son, in thee I am well pleased. And straightway the Spirit driveth him forth into the wilderness." Straightway, it's immediately. He goes in the Spirit into the wilderness. The Spirit driveth him into the wilderness. This is after the baptism. And then it goes on down, and Jesus said unto them, "Come ye after me, and I will make you fishers of men." And straightway they left their nets and followed him. It was immediately. And straightway he called them, and they left their father Zebedee in the boat, blah, blah, blah. And straightway there was in their synagogue a man with an unclean spirit. Immediately. And this is one of the things, the crudeness of Mark, the so-called crudeness of Mark. But again, I think this is by design. And when we get into Mark, one of the most fascinating things about this is there are three overriding aspects. The immediacy, obviously, is the crudeness part. But when we go into there's one aspect that is kind of glaring in this text that needs to be discussed because nobody discusses it at all. In Mark 8, there is the story of, it's the feeding of the 4,000, and as it goes on down, they're talking about bread. In essence, this is all part of the same story. And they reasoned one with another, saying, "We have no bread." And Jesus perceived it, saith unto them, "Why reason ye, because ye have no bread?" Blah, blah, blah. Having eyes, see ye not, and having ears, hear ye not, and do ye not remember? Do you not remember? In other words, he's revealing something, and it goes on down. It says, "When I break the 5 loaves among the 5,000, and how many baskets full of broken pieces took ye up? They said unto him, 12. And when the 7 among the 4,000, how many baskets of broken pieces took ye up? And they said unto him, 7. And he said unto them, do ye not understand? He is trying to reveal something that they do not understand. And then it goes on down. The next story is about a blind man, believe it or not. In verse 26, he says, "And he sent him away to his home, saying, do not enter into the village." This is another aspect of Mark. And down below, where he's hidden, don't go into that village. Don't tell them about it, blah, blah, blah. And it goes on and on like this. In Mark, Jesus is hidden. We go back into Mark 1, 1:43. This is actually very, very important. Jesus sent him away. This is after healing a leper. And it says in Mark 43, Jesus sent him away at once with a strong warning. "See that you don't tell this to anyone, but go, show yourself to the priest, and offer the sacrifices that Moses commanded for your cleansing as a testimony to them." This is very curious. This is a very curious statement. Well, first, there's the apocalyptic stuff where, don't tell anybody about me. Second, he's saying to go about your business, which is very, very curious because the Markionites would not tell them that, number one. And the Johannans would absolutely tell them that. They're Essene. They're probably Essene or Ebionite. So where the Markionites are not. The Markionites would not have said that. So it's very curious. There seems to be an emphasis, particularly in the first chapter, of keeping the law of Moses, doing what you are supposed to do if you're Jewish. The rest of the book is very Markionite, very comparable to the Markionite text, except that there's an overriding theme of apocalypse, hidden Jesus, and revealing Jesus. And this is where the whole design comes back to, the immediacy. The immediacy, like I said, the crudeness is sometimes thought of as just, an early text that was just not written very well. But I see nothing in this text that says that was not done strategically, absolutely strategically, and in order, in essence, to reveal or reveal the theology. And there's one other aspect in Mark that I would like to talk about before leaving Mark this time, and that is the flesh theology. Mark barely touches it, but it talks about this in passing, sort of, in the idea of, where is it? Oh, well, the being tempted by Satan in Mark 1:12, and I don't have the other passage up, but it does appear that in Mark, flesh is introduced, mainly just by the mention of temptation, because later it does appear that human flesh is required to be tempted. In order to be tempted, he has to be human flesh. So the argument, as far as I can tell, for an early Mark is it ignores an awful lot of aspects of this text. And again, like I said, this is one of the most complex texts in the book. In ways, it's the best of the text, even though it's written so crudely. Just by looking at it, you could easily be kind of distracted by the idea that this is just overly simplified. But the overriding themes in this text show really, really high complexity. And I also wanted to throw one other thing out there, since we're here. Gosh, this one's running long. And that is the mentions of Papias. And I have not talked about Papias, and I don't have the quotes up available right now, but I'll link them all below. Papias says, in essence, that Mark is out of order. And that what Mark was trying to do was write just the facts, kind of, just the facts. And so that's kind of his apologetic argument for Mark. But what you find with Papias' statements is that is incorrect. That is flat out incorrect. Mark compared to Markion, Luke, and Matthew. If you compare Markion, Luke, Mark, and Matthew, the one that is out of order is Matthew, not the other three. So what is he comparing it to? Is he comparing it to Matthew? Is he comparing it to another text, perhaps the Gospel of Peter or the Gospel of John? He is supposedly Johannine. And also of note, he is a millennialist. And millennialist probably means he's post-Bar Kokhba, because this goes back to the text of Revelation. So, Papias is part of the new revelation, so to speak. There's an excellent chance that Papias wrote this text himself, in essence, to reveal the new theology of flesh. Also of note, last thing, I swear. Now I forgot. I just straight out forgot, didn't I? Yeah, I did. Oh, well, I guess that's it. Thanks a lot, folks. Bye.